Hello and welcome to Crucible of Words for more dedicated legacy action. Today we have got a very spicy one for you here. We are playing the red-green initiative deck, but we're not just stopping there, we're also playing Natural Order. So many of you might have seen either on my channel or playing yourself or whatever that the red-green initiative deck that basically uses artifact mana to ramp into Bloodboil Sorcerer, City of Traitors Adventurer, Undermountain Adventurer or Minsc and Boo has been popping off a little bit. People have been playing it. I don't think it's there yet. I think it needs some more iterations and stuff. I don't think the current build is going to be like the White Initiative was. I think it needs a lot more before it becomes a big, super powerful deck. But obviously the mechanic is very strong. So what I've decided to do is roll this whole strategy up into a Natural Order strategy. So in order to do that, we've got, instead of playing artifact mana, we've got these 9 ways of ramping our mana on turn 1. So we've got Birds of Paradise, Ignoble Hierarch, and Green Sun Zenith. Green Sun Zenith fetching Dryad Arbor as a ramp spell. So this means on turn 1, we can accelerate so that the next turn we have 2 mana plus whatever our land drop is. Now if our land drop is one of these soul lands, that means we have 4 mana on turn 2. So we're not able to do the big turn 1 initiative guy that sometimes the red-green deck can do, but often doesn't, to be honest. We sort of have a more reliable way of getting there with these guys. Now these can get killed, but they are permanent mana sources, so it's going to help us throughout the rest of the game with our curve. Now, because we're playing all these green guys, sometimes instead of playing a City of Traitors Adventurer on turn 4, we can just cast a Natural Order and go and get Progenitus. And in my experience, Progenitus is one of the dumbest things you can put into play right now. It's so strong, people can't deal with it, it just ends the game super early. If you put this into play on turn 2, that game should be over. So what's also good about this Progenitus is it pitches to both Fury and Endurance, so it kind of helps us on that front as well. And what's really interesting is we have one Green Sun Zenith, so we can Green Sun Zenith for Progenitus if we have a lot of mana. But how do we get so much mana, you ask? Well, if you read this card, when it enters the battlefield, take the initiative, tap, add green to your mana pool, which is quite a lot. But if you've completed a dungeon, add 6 green. So if you've completed a dungeon, this guy can probably find your Progenitus. Although if you've completed a dungeon, maybe you're just going to do Throne of the Dead 3 into a Progenitus. Who knows? So we've got a lot of ways of leveraging that. But we can play a slightly fairer game. So if we go and make our 1-drop and we don't have the soul land, or our guy gets killed and we have a soul land plus the Taiga we started on, we can then play out a Fable and Mirror Breaker and sort of ease into the game that way. We can always discard copies of Progenitus. They get shuffled back in, which is really handy for trying to Natural Order. And we can cast a turn 2 Endurance if that's all we've got, which is still fine in a meta where people are sort of still finding their feet. There's a fair bit of Reanimator stuff out there. There's also some people trying Delver decks. So Endurance definitely has some useful text. So this is our deck. We're trying to do some big things. Our 4-drop slot is absolutely stacked. We have a little bit of interaction in the form of Fury, which might not be enough. Maybe these should be more Furies, but we're going to roll like it and see how we go. I've got 2 Progenitus because if you draw one, it can be kind of annoying, and we don't mind drawing one because we have the 5 things to pitch it to, plus the 4 Fable and Mirror Breakers. Okay, a little chat about the sideboard. Because we're not a Chalice of the Void deck because we've got these 1-drop guys, it means we can play Pyroblast, which is an incredibly powerful sideboard card that can flip some of the matchups quite nicely if you have this in hand. We've got 3 Blood Moons because we can cast this on turn 2. It's going to be very good against some decks. Because we are not playing a load of artifact mana, we get the powerful Meltdown. So this can take out pretty much the entire strategy of an 8-cast deck. Then we've got 2 Collector Ouphe, which can do a similar thing, but the reason why I want 2 of these is it's actually 3 of them with the Green Sun Zenith. But this allows us to attack Storm decks a little bit. So if we put this into play, all of the Wishclaw Talismans, Lions Like Diamonds, Lotus Petals, Chromoxes, etc. will be turned off. And that should give us enough time to beat them down. We have 1 more Endurance for Graveyard Hate. Now, you know my feelings if you watch my channel. I think if you want Graveyard Hate, you want dedicated Graveyard Hate that can't be discarded away. Things like Leyline of the Void, or permanents you can put into play that they then have to answer. But Endurance fits better with what we're doing, generally speaking. It's another threat if we need it, that's lower on the curve, and it's very good against Delver, so this is what we're going with. It also blocks Marit Lage, which we're a little bit cold to. We haven't got an Attractor to block for a turn and gain 7, but we can just sail through with a Progenitus, hopefully. Magus of the Moon is probably, Blood Moon is probably going to be what we want. And the reason we're playing Blood Moon instead of Magus is our deck is very creature-centric. Our opponent is just going to be bringing in creature removal, which means Blood Moon is going to be harder for them to remove than Magus of the Moon. And we got a couple of Carpet Flowers. There are some decks that have islands and wastelands in, or just some decks with loads of islands, like the slower control decks that are making their way back into the meta. This just gives us enough mana to start casting these things quite reliably. That's the plan. Let's see how it is, right? Before we do that, like, comment, subscribe. At the time of recording this, I'm very close to 1,000 subscribers, but haven't quite hit it yet. So keep subscribing, help me out. And likes, comments, I want to know what you think of my stuff. All right. Let's go hard or go home with my take on red-green, natural order, initiative, something or other. We'll think of a pithy name for it when I upload it, hopefully. Let's play some Legacy. Alright, this is our opening hand. We don't have a mana dork. We don't have a lot of mana. This is a quite easy mulligan. Alright, now we're cooking. This looks nice. This is a turn 2 adventurer. So we'll keep this. And we've got a bottom 1 thing. We don't have a red source. So it's going to be one of our 2 red cards. Now we can go and find a red source with Undermountain Adventurer if we can resolve this. And the Ignoble Hierarch is a red source in and of itself. Are we supposed to keep the Minsc and Boo because it's got the highest upside, or are we supposed to keep the Fable? I quite like keeping the Endurance in case we need it in an emergency because our opponent's mulligan to 5. So I think we're probably binning off the Fable just so we have another big hit that we can use for just winning the game, because I feel this might be a matchup where we want to win the game quickly. Our opponent's gone to 4 cards. All right, let's see what our opponent's got. This could be like an Echo Lion's Eye Diamond deck. Those are the ones that tend to mulligan most aggressively. Okay, it looks like it's Ouphe all spells. So this Endurance we've kept could be handy. Okay, so they've got a Thoughtseize. They're probably going to take our Endurance if they're led out on Agadeem. Sure. Let's play our little guy. We don't want to play out the Taiga. We want to at least bluff that we might have an Endurance. So this is the question. Do we play out the Minsc and Boo is 4? No, so it's 5 this turn. Then it's 9 the next turn. And then they're dead. So I think that is better than the Undermountain Adventurer here. So red, green, and 2. We can also use this to draw a bunch of cards for the purposes of trying to find an Endurance. And when we do draw, we get an additional card because it's going to have the Exalted trigger on it. Alright, so this is our opponent down to 10. So next turn, we have lethal with the Ignoble Hierarch as long as they don't kill us this turn. Okay, they have the 4 mana required. They have the Undercity Informer. We're going to let them mill themselves just in case they got any unusual stuff going on here. Alright, let's have a look at their graveyard. Anything unusual in here? I can't see the Memory's Journey. Oh, there's a Memory's Journey. What about Reanimate? Is Reanimate in there? That's kind of a big deal for us. Let me just check to see if it's in there, and then we can concede the game. If you're unfamiliar with how this combo deck works, they've milled their whole library out, and now they're going to cast Dread Return and get back their thing. I don't think there's a Reanimate in here. Okay. Because they were a 60-card deck, so that makes sense. All right. We had the turn 3 kill here, but they are a turn 1 deck. So a little bit awkward. What do we want? We would like our Endurance. We would like our Collector Ouphes, because they stop our opponents, some of their opponents' mana there. The Furies aren't really necessary. I think if we go to like a beatdown thing, we're just going to beat them down because our guys are better. Blood Moon has some text here. It can stop them having black mana, which can be kind of annoying if they need it for starting mana. So if we have the Collector Ouphes and the Blood Moons, that will shut them off of all of starting mana. So we can probably keep these. What is going here? Maybe it's the Bloodboil Sorcerer. It's kind of slow. This way, we still got Natural Order as a line, which can be a big 2-shot thing. As we saw, Minsc and Boo ends the games quite quickly, as these also end the game quicker than the Bloodboil Sorcerer. I think we do want these. If we can shut them off of black mana, then I don't think they can win. And that's what these things do in combination. Anything else? No, I don't think so. I think we will just submit like this and see how we go. Like the Meltdown is 2 after the fact when it comes to it. We should lose this matchup because that's what our opponent deck does. So this is a turn 2 Collector Ouphe. I think we keep this because our opponent probably is going to have to find an answer to Endurance because they know we have it, which means they might just have an answer to our Green Suns. But such is life, right? This matchup is going to be very hard for us to win. We may as well try our best. I don't think we can just mulligan to Endurance. Okay, we get to play our Collector Ouphe here. Let's get Collector Ouphe. Okay, so now our opponent can't use any artifact mana. So they need to find a black land to get black mana now. And then we can just start Minsc and Booing them, or we can Chaos Adventure them, depending on how we feel. Actually, no, we need another mana for that, actually. We might draw one. City of Traitors. That's a mana source. So we played this guy out this turn. That's 5 for next turn. This is 4. I think, I should probably do the math, shouldn't I? So this is 4, 5, 6 this turn. And then 6, 7, 8. So it's 6 this turn. And then 6 next turn. And then we down them for 5. That's still not lethal, is it? If we play this guy this turn, that is going to be more damage the following turn, I think. Alright, let's do some K's of Chaos Adventuring. Just can get us Mountain, I think. We're probably not playing anyway. We go to attacks for 3 here. And next turn this is 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13. Or this is 14, 15, 16. So we're 1 damage off killing them next turn. But we have a Collector Ouphe. That's really the thing that's keeping us in this game. All right. I imagine our opponent has us dead if this isn't in play. All right. Excellent. We got a game off of Ouphe's All Spells, which is pretty incredible. So I think we have to submit here and hope. We have to keep a hand with Endurance in this time. I think our opponent might pass once, but they're unlikely to pass the turn twice. So let's hope that we can open up with Endurance. Endurance and Collector Ouphe in our opener, and some green cards to pitch, and some mana dorks. These are the things I would like to see. Our opening hand does not contain an Endurance. Let's see if our opponent mulligans. They have mulliganed once, we will mulligan as well. Our opening hand contains 2 Endurances, but no mana sources. I think we keep this. As weird as that is. Because this matchup is so bad, I think we need to just have the ability to Endurance twice. Cabal Therapy, pretty bad for us. They didn't start with a Leyline in play. We can beat a single Thoughtseize here. Alright. Let's see how bad this is for us. Summoner's Pact. Okay. I think we might be alright with our keep here. Elvish Spirit Guide. Undercity Informer. Sure. They're sacrificing their Undercity Informer. Are they? They have to go this turn because of the Summoner's Pact. So with these triggers on the stack, we are going to cast Endurance. We are going to exile our Natural Order here. Pact of Negation was their last card in hand. We will exile this Progenitus to play this Endurance. They're going to die to Summoner's Pact and Pact of Negation on the next turn. Alright, that's why we kept that hand, right? We didn't need lands, we got there. Knowledge of the format, I guess. The double Endurance hand, pretty good. Okay, we got a win against the matchup I was expecting to lose, so that's a good sign. Let's head to round 2. Right, we're on the play. Our hand doesn't do anything. Let's mulligan. This hand makes a turn 2 Progenitus. I will keep a turn 2 Progenitus hand. I think we have to make a choice here. Would I like to have the land? Like, we're getting a forest on turn 1, which means I think we need to keep this in case things go wrong. So probably putting back the Bloodboil Sorcerer here. Let's hope our opponent is in the blue deck. It's going to get basic forest because we can't be wastelanded off our 4 mana for next turn. Just a basic forest. We're just a humble Ignoble Hierarch deck. Nothing to see here. I'm going to play a non-blue land. That would be nice. An Ancient Tomb. I'm going to play a Chalice or something. That would be a-okay with me. They could be an 8-cast deck though, which means they might have a Force of Will as well as Chalice. Chalice of the Void. Sure. I think if they're 8-cast, they're playing out other things here. So we're just going to jam our thing and see if it's good. So green, green, and 2. Natural Order, sacrifice Hierarch. There you go. Turn 2 Progenitus. Let's see if we can do it. They could have something like an Ensnaring Bridge. Okay, it looks like they're on the standard version of this deck, which means the Chalice post-borders could be quite good against us potentially, but I don't think they can race the Progenitus at all. All they've done here is shown us what's going on. So this could be a Minsc and Boo, but again, I don't think that beats us. They can't attack into Progenitus this turn because it's Progenitus. I think we just ignore the Minsc and Boo here and jam with Progenitus. 11 damage doesn't make a difference here. Let's just go to attacks. How much of our deck should we show our opponent given what's in play right now? I think we just play out the Hierarch into the Chalice like an idiot. There you go. I don't think we play this out. We could have played anything else here, but I didn't want to do anything to reveal what we're doing because I'm pretty sure the Progenitus wins. Yeah, okay. So we didn't show them any of the red cards in our deck, but they did see Wooded Foothills, so they may suspect we have another colour. All right. What looks good here? They are a creature deck, so Fury's probably going to be useful here. The Endurances aren't really necessary. I think Collector Ouphe has some useful text. We can shut off their mana sources, which are a little bit sketchy in their deck. The Blood Moon can be useful here as well. But that's 4 more cards we'd have to cut. What would those cards be? We're kind of knocking the initiative back and forth here. If they're on the play, they're likely... The other thing we can bring in here is Meltdown, actually, to blow up things like Chalice, which is probably going to be better for us than other things. So I think we probably are cutting some birds because we don't want loads of things getting caught up in our hand Chalice-wise. Natural Order Progenitus does race our opponent's deck as a general rule. So what does this hand do? This hand makes a turn 2 Collector Ouphe, and if we find another land, we get turn 3 Progenitus. If we find another land, we can also get a City of Chaos Adventurer. I think this is fine. It's not great, but it's got a reasonable hand that ignores Chalice for 1, which our opponent might prioritize given how powerful our 1-drop was in the previous game. Alright, so there's a Chromox, so we can shut them off a colour if we can play some mana soon, but obviously we're looking at... Okay, Fail the Mirror Breaker, sure. We get to turn off all of their treasures soon. Let's play this out. We don't care about Wasteland, but we might care about Blood Moon. But I think given what we have in hand right now, we're supposed to get a Taiga here. Unless they play a Blood Moon right now, we get a Taiga, because that lets us cast the Collector Ouphe and then the Caves of Chaos Adventurer, as well as giving us one of our green pips required for Natural Order. If this is all our opponent's doing this turn, I suspect it isn't. They're probably going to cast a 4-drop post-combat. But at least they weren't making a Minsc and Boo pre-combat. So that's something. Oh, wow. That's real bad. Okay. So I think this turn, we play this out. We get a Taiga. And we get a Forest here. That way we can play around Blood Moon. We're going to shut off all of their mana here. They probably have Fury in their deck, though. But treasure tokens and Chromox no longer work. So by not playing these like treasury tokens and stuff, we get really powerful... well, we do have treasure tokens, but by not playing artifact mana, we have quite a lot of powerful stuff we can do in terms of sideboard cards like Collector Ouphe. Like we can take the 4 here. We're going to make a Progenitus next turn if we want to. Although, should we just keep our opponent's mana down? Okay, they found a Taiga. But they're not doing anything with it. Interesting. So I think we are just making Minsc and Boo here, rather than introducing the initiative when they have more creatures than us. We could have natural ordered here, but I want to keep their mana locked down. So let's power up our Boo. Go to attacks. Do we even attack here? I don't think we attack, actually. As weird as that is. I think we hold it back so we can defend our Boo here. That would cost us a Collector Ouphe potentially. But we get to eat the creature of our choice. Oh, they can copy the Shaman token or whatever, but it means we get to eat the original Shaman token or the Spirit Guide, depending on what we want to. I think that was better than playing the Natural Order for Progenitus. Because again, they can't cast a 4-drop this turn unless they've got a Spirit Guide. Okay, they might have a Spirit Guide here. Once Upon a Time. Okay, that's not a strong one either. Wowzers. This means that next turn they can cast a 4-drop. Right, so they're copying this guy. They're all coming in at Minsc and Boo. We can just eat one of the Shamans here. Have to send them all in. At Boo if they want, at Minsc and Boo if they want to kill it. So we just get to eat this up. And they don't have one less thing to copy with their Reflection of Kiki-Jiki. If we can draw a Fury, that's probably quite good for us. We lose the Boo here. The Minsc. Or Minsc and Boo. You know what I mean. Right. Okay, so we can introduce the initiative here if we want to. But do we want to do that? So if we introduce the initiative... I'm trying to think if they have any haste guys. I don't think they do. So we can hold this guy back. And the Boo seems okay. Or do we want the Caves of Chaos Adventurer? Which of these is better for us? This becomes a Progenitus the turn after, which is quite tasty. Or we could just say, can you beat a Progenitus now? I think they've got a lot of mana to work with. I think we're just going to... Do you want the Trampler guy? It's tricky to know which of these is the best one to play in this situation. This one has Vigilance. I think we want the Vigilance one. And we'll get a Forest. And we'll go to attacks. I think we'll attack for just 2 here. I guess what they can do is they can play an initiative guy and then copy it if they have enough mana. We will play out our land because we can then play the City of Traitors next turn if we want to anyway, or we can play the Taiga and then we still have access to a 4-drop. This also taps for mana, which is pretty gross. We want to get ourselves to a position where us natural ordering for Progenitus is game over. Like, it might be now, but if we can pass a turn and say, we've got a 10-10, you're on like 10 life or something. I don't know, maybe we're supposed to get Progenitus earlier because their opening hand was bad, but I just think shutting all of this down is just so strong for us. If we draw a Meltdown, then we can melt this all down and then natural order, and then our opponent will concede the game, I suspect. But we have some options here. I think we just play out Forest here. They know we have it, and then we'll pass. So it's going to be difficult for them to get in and take the initiative off us here. Sure. So they can cast a guy and then copy it with Reflection of Kiki Jiki, and they can put 2 counters on the thing that's attacking us if they want to. A Fury. So just hard casting a Fury. Okay, this can take out... This is probably going to take out our Collector Ouphe, but that's the only thing it takes out in this situation. I think now we're looking at natural ordering. Maybe we should have natural ordered already, but our opponent's got 1 card in exile, which is the Student Spirit Guide, so they have a blank card in hand that we don't know. What they can do here is kill the Collector Ouphe and then copy the Fury to kill the Boo or the Undermountain Adventurer. Kind of hoping they kill the Boo so we can just natural order into Progenitus here. They might also be able to take the initiative from us this turn if they wish. Maybe we messed this up by not getting the natural order off earlier. Okay, so they're killing all of our guys now. Yeah, so 2 here, and then they're going to crack this, copy it, kill this, and put 2 damage on this, which means they can attack into it. Yeah, I think we lost this game by not natural ordering earlier. Could have just ignored what I was opponent doing and just make a big guy. So we can't really block the Hasty Fury because we can block 6 damage here. Or we can keep our Boo, which is going to die next turn anyway. Tough call. Yeah, I think we've punted this one a little bit. Our opponent's playing incredibly slowly though. Okay. Attacking with these guys. So we can either save ourselves 6 damage or we can trade with the Spirit Guide. I think our plan here is to save ourselves 6 damage so that when we natural order for Progenitus, it's going to be more effective. Now they're going to go and get themselves a basic here. We're going to have to wait probably another 5 minutes for them to resolve it because they're a bit slow on the draw over there. Alright, let's see if we can draw a little guy. So we can take back the initiative here if we want to. But then they kill it and we die. So we lose this game for not natural ordering. Alright, that's on us, I think. Now, on the draw... Oh, sorry, on the play, I want more mana dorks because we want these mana dorks out turn 1 if possible. I think Bloodboil Sorcerer is probably one of the weak links here. I think our natural order line is the strongest thing we can do. I think we'll submit like this. We want to have turn 1 dork so we can potentially do turn 2 natural order. Our opponent has to decide if they want to 2-for-1 themselves with a Fury just to stop our potential turn 2 natural order if we have a turn 1 guy. Alright, what does our hand do? It makes a turn 2 guy, we have Fury. This isn't the hand we want, but I think it's the hand we keep. This has to be a Taiga. I'd rather this was a natural order. But we have Furies for removal spells, we have Caves of Chaos Adventurer that we can dump into play on turn 2. This seems fine. We wouldn't have to play this game if I just natural ordered super early like I should have done in the previous game. Play this, sacrifice for a Taiga, play out the little goblin, and pass a turn. So they can choose to Fury this if they want to. Once upon a time, let's see what they find. If they 2-for-1 themselves to Fury this, that's not very good for us, to be honest. But whether or not they actually go for that sort of play remains to be seen. Okay, they got Fury. Feels like we're just getting our Ignoble Hierarch Furied here. The fear of turn 2. Oh, they had a dead. Ugh, very rude. Okay. A Wooded Foothills. So we'll play this one out, and the next turn we can drop a 4-drop. And we can also kill whatever our opponent has. Nothing. Alrighty then. Let's crack this. I think we want another Taiga here. 1, 2, red. Red. Let's play out our initiative guy. Now we get the forest with this one. Then it's our opponent's turn. If they can't kill... Well, we know they can kill our Caves of Chaos Adventurer because we've seen the Fury. But that just sends us to Lost Well, and then we play another guy. Okay, so they have a Summon Spirit Guide. So the chance of them making a guy this turn seems relatively high. That might just be a red card to pitch to Fury, though. We can always hard cast a Fury next turn as well, which seems a-okay to me. Minsc and Boo, sure. We could trade here and they still get the initiative, so I think we just take the 4. I imagine they're going to do the Fury here. Sure, Fury pitching Summon Spirit Guide as expected. So we're going to lose our Caves of Chaos Adventurer. That's over to us. Okay, I think we pitch cast this Fury using Fable or another Fury. Probably This is a creature matchup, right? Probably just the Fable here. One stack first. This one can kill this guy. That's for 2. Play this out. Cast this. Red, red. And we'll kill the boo. They do have the initiative. But if we draw a soul land, we can Fury away whatever they play. If we don't, we can Fury away whatever they play, pitching our Bloodboil Sorcerer. Alternatively, if we draw a land, we can play the Bloodboil Sorcerer and draw a card and go into the initiative that way if our guy doesn't make it. 1 top, 1 bottom from them. Okay. We have an Ancient Tomb ticking away at the life total over there. Fable the Mirror Breaker. Okay, that's fine for us. Right, I guess we go to attacks. Do you want to keep the initiative or do you want your little guy? Once upon a time. I guess they want the maximum amount of information first before they... Okay, they got Fury. I see. So now we're on Fable the Mirror Breaker, duty of our own. They do have the initiative during this. We have the better board, but they have the initiative, so the broken mechanic's probably going to do enough. They're going to cast a Fury and kill our Fury. But hopefully we can cast a Fury and kill their Fury next turn. And the cycle continues. They might save their Fury until they can set up a Fable Fury loop, where they just keep smashing all of our stuff down. Will they discard? A Simon Spirit Guide Forest. Okay. This looks like the Fury here. Sure. Goodbye, our Fury. We have this checked with our own Fury. So at least we're not going to get hit by the horrible Fable constantly using this. We'd like to find a soul land this turn. A Meltdown. What does that do? Not enough. I think we will pitch this. Yes, we'll get rid of 1 card. So we want to keep a red card that's okay here. We have to evoke this now so we can attack and get a treasure token. This Fury can't stay on the board. We kill this, go to attacks, we get the initiative back, and then we scry. Lost well. Birds of Paradise can potentially give us natural order next turn. So I think we put this on the bottom, we leave this on top. So we're hoping that we can attack with our Goblin Shaman to get a treasure token, play a Birds of Paradise, immediately turn it into a Progenitus. That is our plan for next turn. We need our opponent to not gain the initiative this turn for that to happen. This Fable comes in summoning 6, so that can't attack us. They can't make a guy and give it haste, so I think we're okay as long as they don't have an initiative guy right now. Sure. We can still make a Progenitus this turn. Or next turn. We attack with this. It's a suicide mission, but we can do it. This flips. Probably going to be on chump blocking duty in the near future. Our opponent is conveniently on 10 life. Gobble up our little lad. I think they do block here. They could fear that we have a Fury, which can just wipe out their whole board. So there's a world where they let this through. But I think, oh, this is amazing for us. Incredible. Couldn't have asked for more. Cast this. Green, green, green. Sacrifice this birds. Here comes the big boy. They go into Throne of the Dead 3, but that doesn't beat a Progenitus. I'm trying to think what they could have that can help them deal us 14 damage from their Throne of the Dead 3. Let's have a look. Fury can clear our Reflection, but this checks the Caves of Chaos Adventurer and then sails through to finish off their life total. See, if we had a Traxxer in our deck, a Traxxer is not good enough in this situation. But we don't have a Traxxer. We have the big boy Progenitus. They can attack here and draw a card off of the Caves of Chaos Adventurer, but will it interact with Progenitus? I hope not. This kind of shows you how we definitely should have just got it on like turn 3 in the previous game and put it to bed. Sure. So they have a hasty Caves of Chaos Adventurer. This gets them a basic land out of their deck. And then what is the question? Now we take 5, we go to 9, but then we just crash through for 10. Our opponent's Ancient Tomb, pretty good for us. They do get some free cards here though. Minsc and Boo can dome us for 6. 6 plus 5 is 11. Minsc and Boo, sure. This can put us to 3. Do they have a way of dealing us 3 damage? If they can get through 2 runes of the Undercity somehow, then yes. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. They played this mountain already. These are in exile, not in their hand, so they're not mana. Sure. So they can sacrifice their Fury and put us to 3. If they find another Minsc and Boo, that does it actually. Because they can sacrifice this Caves of Chaos Adventurer. They did not find it. Alright. Cool. So we made a bit of a misplay in game 2, but I think what we're doing is intrinsically more powerful than what our opponent's doing because of Progenitus, and it's just a real trump card. As I found when I played that blue-white Show and Tell initiative deck where we had Show and Tell for Attractor and Progenitus just went over the top of the other initiative decks and bananas. So we're kind of doing the same thing here and it's working. Let's go to round 3. This is our opening hand. It's no good. Let's mulligan it. We need a green source. This is also no good, so we're going to have to ship this one when we get the chance to. I think we keep this, and we're probably bottoming our 2 Progenituses. We have 2 draw steps to find a Soul Land, but we can find a Fable and Mirror Breaker or an Endurance. Okay, this matchup's going to be hard, I suspect. Let's see what we can do. Like, we have Blood Moon for this matchup. It's going to be some sort of like Naya Depths or lands. Probably Naya Depths is what is more likely because it's got the Reclaimer. Yeah, so the wasteland on our Taiga here is brutal, and we're probably going to lose the game quite soon. Yep. In come the Reclaimer. Chaos Adventurer. That doesn't do anything. If we have to go to discard, we'll concede rather than show them what we're doing. Because at the moment we just look like... I don't really know what we look like, to be honest. Taiga into Birds of Paradise. I'm not really sure what that says. Yeah. So we're looking at the Depths combo in our opponent's deck. Yep. So they got another Wasteland. So they got a recurring Wasteland lock here. We do have 3 basics in our deck. So it's not the end of the world. And they're only attacking for 1 here. And they're not using these to tutor for anything. So it could be worse. Now we can just kill both of these if we want to. I think we can do that. There's a world where we get to play Magic here. We have shown our opponent more than I would like to. Progenitus is going to be really good in this matchup. Because it can't be Maze of Ith, if that's the thing they have. So, hopefully we can do Progenitus things. Yep, there's a Wasteland we knew about. What do we got for us? Another Life from the Loam, I assume. Getting back the Taiga. Slow Gurk over... Okay, our opponent is doing cool stuff. Let's have a little look at this one. Whenever a land card is put into your graveyard from anywhere, put a counter on it. Where remove 3 counters from it and bounce it. When he leaves the battlefield, return 3 lands. So he's kind of like a Life from the Loam that attacks. Ooh, we got a land. We got a land. If we can muster enough lands together and then just natural order into Progenitus, I think we can win this game still. So we need like Soul Land and natural order. If we get a Soul Land, I'm not even sure we play it because we get cast 1 spell off of it before it gets wastelanded. So it might not be worth doing. We might just hold it in case we draw the natural order because I don't think one of these guys is going to be enough. It might be enough to win the game, but we'll see. What do you got for us, deck? A Wooded Foothills. Okay, this is another basic. Alright, we're almost cooking with gas here. So we've got a forest and a mountain left in our deck. Sure. So they're making this guy quite large though. So this guy is going to outclass our initiative lads. And it's got trample, so it just immediately gets the initiative as well. So, going to be tough. Going to be a tough one. But we can see more of our opponent's deck because they're going to dredge each turn. I will not throw my mana source under the bus. So they're going to crack the Waterlogged Grove here, which draws a card, which dredges the Life from the Loam, which pumps the guy. Yeah, this is pretty cool. I've not really seen Slow Gurk do very much before, so it's kind of cool. I don't mind getting beaten by weird stuff. I approve. So our opponent has us dead next turn. Yikes. Okay, so we need to draw... We can keep this Wooded Foothills for a Dryad Arbor, if that's a thing that we need to do. This has trample though, so... we can play this guy out. We have to put both guys under the bus, but they have wasted... No, we're just dead. Let's stop wasting our time. Okay, so this is going to be a tricky one. We would like this Endurance. We would also like these Blood Moons, and our opponent's probably going to have like Uro and stuff as well. I can't remember if we saw the Uro or not, so I'd like this Pyroblast. This Fury is going to be good against the little guys, but not good against some of the other stuff going on. Lands decks generally struggle against the initiative, so I think we want to keep our initiative-y things in here. Do we want our Minsc and Boo? I think we do. Which means, what are we cutting for these things? That is the real question. Like, it could be Fable. Just drop it out for another 3-drop. Doesn't feel amazing. I don't think we want more Furies than this. Maybe we are getting rid of some of these guys. We can bring one of them back in, I guess. I'm not particularly confident. We could bring in the Collector Ouphes. We want Meltdown, because our opponent's going to have... what's that horrible card called? I think we'll drop. Minsc and Boo is something that can get around the other thing, though. Tough. It's a tough one. Maybe it's a Chaos Adventurer, weirdly. So, Meltdown gets through as a Saga tokens, which can be a real problem from our opponent. I don't really like how I sideboarded for this matchup. I built this deck kind of knowing that we would lose to this matchup, though. Alright, so we have removal for their graveyard. We have a turn 2 Blood Moon, and then turn 3... Actually, it's not a turn 3, is it? because this is going to become... Our City of Traitors will become a mountain in the next turn. Right, so next turn we cast a Blood Moon. Hopefully that can put our opponent to bed. Or at least buy us enough time that we can then deploy a Minsc and Boo, because we have a mountain Dryad Arbor thing going on soon. And we have 2 green sources to cast this Endurance. We can also pitch cast Dryad Arbor to Endurance, if that's a thing we want to do. Because this is green, whereas lands normally aren't. Alright, it's our opponent's turn. Let's see what they have for us. Taiga. This is good. We don't want to see a Mox Diamond. Okay, they have a Mox Diamond. There's a Wasteland. There's an Exploration. Okay. There's a Wasteland. Okay. There's an Elvish Reclaimer. Okay. Understood, opponent. Nope, we want to play... We can play a Minsc and Boo and just start going to town with it. Or we can play a Blood Moon. I think we want the Blood Moon. They'll probably Wasteland our city in response. Yeah. That's the downside of this play, for sure. So next turn, we want to try and make an Endurance and clean up their graveyard and shut some stuff down. So they've got an Elvish Reclaimer, so they can go and find green sources, but they have the Mox Diamond. We're not trying to shut them off of mana sources, we're trying to shut them off of all their lands that do stuff. So the Blood Moon is still fine here. And if they have a Boseiju to get rid of it, we do have another one, and the Boseiju will ramp us. So it's not the end of the world. They're just coming in with their guy, or do they want... Okay, they're going to grow this so it's bigger. Is this just a mountain, or is this a mountain creature? I can't remember how this one works. So this one has Summoning Sickness. Understood. Alright, not ideal. So end of turn, this is going to cycle probably a Maze of Ith into a plane, into a forest, or it's going to make a Dark Depths, and they have the thing to kill our Blood Moon, and then we lose. A Boseiju into play. That's a strange place to put that Boseiju. Or is this a 2-step because they've got Life from the Loam? So they're going to put this in the graveyard, and then they're going to Life from the Loam it back. Is that their plan? That would make sense. However, we have an Endurance. We have an Endurance that we're hoping to snag an Elvish Reclaimer within combat soon, but we'll see. We really don't want to lose either of our creatures right now, so I'm not a big fan of them putting red mana in their mana pool. I have to imagine if they had Punishing Fires, they probably would have fired it off on the birds already. Dryad Mountain. Wonder how many judge calls this has been the subject of. A crop rotation. Okay. A forest. Sure. Life from the Loam. So we are going to... I think we have to pitch the Minsc and Boo here and keep the spell we can cast. We can also get rid of the Life from the Loam with the Endurance next turn. So this puts these cards on the bottom of our opponent's library, so they don't get anything from the Life from the Loam. And then next turn, we can cast this Endurance and stop our opponent from being able to dredge the Life from the Loam. So they're just going to be living on the top, off the top. Okay, we didn't draw a land, so... Green, red, green. Get rid of this Life from the Loam. Alright, we've assembled some stuff here. We don't want to play the second Blood Moon because our opponent probably has Force of Vigors in their deck. If we draw a land, we can introduce the initiative into the game, and I think we can run away with it after that, because that will get us another land as well for the following turn. Opens up a lot of things for it. An Uro. Okay. This is why I brought in Pyroblasts, so we can destroy this and not have to worry about it. This is a nice thing that I would have liked to have catched with the Endurance, but they were definitely going to dredge their Life from the Loam. I think it's important to get rid of that. Can we have a land, please? We can have a land. Excellent. Let's cast this. Give me that sweet, sweet initiative. We will have a forest, because all of our lands are mountains. Might as well attack for 3. We need to start getting the game won before they eventually break out of this. So Undermountain Adventurer even has vigilance, so we can attack with it, which is nice. I think we are just forging here, making a big, I think we're just a big vigilance guy. This Meltdown is interesting to me. They can't put enough lands in the graveyard right now. Question is, do I blow up their Mox Diamond? Is that a good play here? Or do we save this in case they have another one, or in case they have the... This can shut them off of blue mana if we blow this up. Let's just shatter their Mox Diamond. So they're probably going to do this now just to pump their Reclaimer. Also shuffles the stuff that we put on the bottom of their library into their deck a bit. So what they're probably doing here, they might be doing that same play of... Okay, this is the thing that I was worried about. Because now if they remove our Blood Moon, we have a 2020 to deal with. We have 2 blockers for it. Okay. Trap our opponent. A Pyroblast. Not really doing the business for us right now. Okay, so I think we have to go to attacks here. So if they have Force of Vigor, then they can blow this up. Okay. What is going on over there? Okay, so this is going to turn their guys bigger now? No, still not yet. Okay. So they're showing us that their way out of this is the Boseiju. So we're going to play this second Blood Moon post-combat. Because this plays around the Boseiju. So by doing it this way around, we got ourselves more information about what our opponent has. Because they were going to activate this. So if they showed us the Boseiju, it meant that we knew we wanted to play the Blood Moon. Whereas if they had the Force of Vigor, then we can't play around it by playing this first anyway. So we get to draw an additional card on our turn. Hopefully it'll be a good one. It was not a great one. That is also not a great one. On 7. So they have to block. No, they can block this 5, 6. Yeah, so they can. So I think we're supposed to block with this and just keep our guys back. Because if they don't block now, then they have to block. Yeah, so they have to block this guy this turn anyway. And we have a Pyroblast that we can fire off for an Uro. Let's see what they're finding here. A Maze of Ith, sure. So they're clearly hoping to draw into a Force of Vigor and stop our aggression. That seems like the correct plan for them. We just have this Pyroblast. We will Pyroblast any blue spell given the opportunity. Not sure how good these are. Okay, we got the concession. So, how do we win this game in the third? Tricky. Like, the initiative is very good against them if they don't have their little Mitty elves. And even if they do, it's still pretty good. How good is this Minsc and Boo? That is the question here. Like, it pitches to both. It pitches to our things. Maybe we don't need the Furies. I don't know, the Furies killing their guys is so important, especially even from on the draw. I think maybe we even want more of them on the draw, just so we don't get buried by those silly little guys. Like Collector Ouphe definitely have text, but they're going to have removal spells for it. Are these Pyroblasts where I want to be? It's very hard for us to beat Uro if it resolves. Let's just do our thing, maybe. We can shut off their Moxes. I don't think we can realistically strand them from colours. I think that's a foolish way to play this game. We could Fable a Mirror Breaker, or just have some more Sorcerers. I think we want these Fables, try and dig into Blood Moon. I don't know. This matchup feels like one of the things that I was expecting to lose to when I built this. This is not a keepable hand. We will mulligan this one. This is also not a keepable hand. We have the problem of having 8 colourless Sorcerers in our deck here. This is a turn 2 Fable of the Mirror Breaker. Put 2 cards on the bottom. Progenitus is an obvious one, and I guess we get rid of one of the Undercity Adventurers. Maybe we should have kept the Progenitus, actually, just so we could pitch to Fury. Yeah, that's a mistake. What was our opponent going to start with? Do they have one of those silly little elves? Then we would have wanted the Fury. Exploration, okay. Maybe they'll have Exploration and one of those silly little elves. They do, okay. We're in trouble here. We have a basic to lead out on, though, so we can guarantee our turn 2 play. These decks don't tend to run Rishdam Port. The days of Rishdam Port and lands are long gone. Not the one we were hoping for there, little City of Traitors. But it does mean that we might be able to cast a Fury on turn 3 if we get the attack in and get the treasure. But that might be too late. Our opponent's just going to race to Marit Lage pretty quick. And I don't think we beat this. So they get a Dark Depths token at the end of next turn. So, tough. Ancient Tomb. Is this better than City of Traitors? Not when we're at 21, it isn't. This means we can survive a Marit Lage hit. Although, they have a 2020 coming at us in 2 turns. Sure. We're on 22 life now, which means we can take a hit from the Elvish Reclaimer as well. So, actually that's not true, because it might be a 3-4 by the time I attack with it anyway. So, what you can run in this deck, if you want to beat Marit Lage, is Run Afoul. I didn't put any in the deck, I thought I'd just have Blood Moons. But if you want Run Afouls, they're good. They're also very good against Delver because they blow up all their threats. But they're not as precise, whereas a Pyroblast can precisely take out a Murktide. I think this Reclaimer was supposed to attack this turn. Let's get the 1 damage in. Alright, our hand's got to be pretty good here. This can block, I guess. So we get rid of these 2 do nothing lands. No, we're dead. Alright, so we lost this thing that I thought we might lose against. We had them in game 2. I definitely think you can put some cards in your sideboard to make this matchup a lot better if you want to. Like, they're all in on this 1 Dark Depths. If we have Run Afoul in our deck, if we have the ability to cast Run Afoul after they do this, we just win the game, I think. Alright, let's go to round 4. We're on the play. We don't have a 1-drop. We don't have a Soul Land. This has to be a mulligan. Our own mana base coming back to haunt us a little bit. Let's mulligan. Do we keep this incredibly slow hand Or do we go to 4? I think we go to 4. Alright, this is the best hand we've seen so far, so we keep this. These 3 go. And we play a turn 2 Caves of Chaos Adventurer and hope that's good. I think this has to be a forest so that we don't get wastelanded off of being able to make our play. But if we get a Taiga, they shouldn't be wastelanding us when we play a Noble Hierarch, right? An Ignoble Hierarch. Because then we're ahead on mana anyway. And they just puts himself a turn behind. They could do though, and it would be really bad for us. Okay, City of Traitors. Defense grid. Understood. Our opponent is probably doing some sort of show and tell type stuff. And endurance. Not that exciting. We do know that this is going to resolve because of the defense grid. I would like a forest here so that we can cast a natural order if something happens. I would quite like a Progenitus in hand because I suspect our opponent is going to cast a show and tell in the very near future. There's a lotus petal. Okay, no, we're storming. Is this gamble or is this Ruby Storm? Could be either. Echo of Eons. Okay, so it's Epic Gamble. Let's see what goes into the graveyard. The Echo. And there's the LED. Alright, so we're getting a new grip. Maybe that'll be useful. We couldn't cast the endurance there because we don't have the 2 mana for it, in case you were wondering. Let's hope we hit our opponent's fail rate. We might as well just F6 for this turn. We can't actually do anything because they got defense grid. Storm is 9, so Burning Wish is lethal. Galvanic Relay. Okay. This is not the end of the world. They can probably win off a Galvanic Relay next turn, but isn't necessarily a done thing. That's okay. They might not be done yet. They might still be going for more. Okay, well, it looks like we're wheeling again. I think we have 13 damage next turn with this current hand. I suspect we don't get another turn. Right, we're going for another wheel here. They just need to cast a Burning Wish and we die here. But there's 3 Burning Wishes in exile. Okay, there it is. Tendrils of Agony, sure. So they point us at our face and we take a lot of damages. I've not seen this art before. Alright, so we said we had a plan against this deck. I don't think it's a great plan, but it's the plan we have. So Pyroblast hits Echo of Eons. That's a real thing. Meltdown, that also does stuff. Collector Ouphe. Endurance can sometimes do stuff, but so rarely. What do we not want here? It doesn't really matter what guys we're trying to win the game with, for the most part. Minsc can draw us into some of the better things. I think we can probably just bin off the Bloodboil Sorcerer. That's a weak guy. I kind of like the Fury in case they have a Empty the Warrens line. Maybe this isn't a natural order matchup. Maybe we don't need the natural orders here. Well, the natural order does find Collector Ouphe. Maybe we brought out one of our Progenituses. Progenituses? Who knows? So we're looking for 3 more cuts here. So we want to keep our Dorks. That helps us make a turn to Collector Ouphe. And we want to keep our Furies in case stuff goes wrong. Natural order finds Collector Ouphe as well. Fable. It's just card selection which helps us find stuff. I think it's the Minsc and Boo. The other things are just relatively good clocks. So is Minsc and Boo, to be fair. Is Minsc and Boo better than the Undermountain Adventurer? Maybe. Let's do a 3-2 split and see how we feel. I suspect we lose this one because we're not really kitted out to beat combo because we're red-green, right? So we have the Pyroblast, but we don't have anything else going on. If we draw a land, this hand is great. They're probably boarded out their defense grids as well. I do believe in the heart of the cards to keep this and just try and draw a land. We do need to draw another land after that as well, though. Maybe we should mulligan. All right. This is the one, isn't it? We keep this one. We can bottom one of these. So done. Our opponent's kept 7. I think we have to hold up the Pyroblast because we're so bad in this matchup. I think we just have to try and Pyroblast the Echo of Eons. Grim Monolith, sure. Really want to draw a mana source. Give us a land. Alright. We are having a bad time here. Wish we'd have played the Birds of Paradise on turn 1, but again, we kind of need the Pyroblast. If we can hit the Echo, I think we are okay. Because obviously it ends their entire turn, pretty much. Horn. Yuck. Okay, this definitely beats us. So we can get rid of this Echo of Eons. But we might as well wait till they cast it rather than burning our endurance on it. This Horn is a real problem for us. So they got 1 card in hand. We kind of need them to pass the turn here. I think we made a mistake somewhere along the lines. We have to lose our Birds of Paradise to do this. So we have to hit both Echoes. Yuck. Not a fan of this play. Now the Horn could probably just beat us over the course of a few turns anyway. Let's put these cards on the bottom of the library. Pyroblast the Echo Vions. Like, we got lucky and beat one of the turn 1-2 combo decks in terms of the, what's it called? Ouphe spells. So we can't be too upset if we lose to one. A 1-1 split against the matchup that should be smashing you is pretty good. So our opponent can just make a load of goblins now. They can make 20 goblins because they got the wish here. Wait, they've only got one red source actually. So what do they do here? They crack their petal for red, cast wish. They don't have the mana to echo. They could grape shot us for some, but that doesn't seem great. This card doesn't go into their hand either. They can cast a card from outside the game. So I'm not sure what they have here. Okay, they're just going to untap their Grim Monolith. Sure. Come on, deck. We kind of need to land into Collector Ouphe. Now our opponent could just like draw go for a couple of turns and then just get a whole fresh hand. Alright, we've drawn a real card here though. Let's do a thing. Ancient Tomb, Rite of Flame. These don't help them. They need a payoff. Oh, we need a Collector Ouphe. We can put a Cage of Chaos Adventurer into play this turn. Or next turn. If we draw a land, we can Minsc and Boo and then hit them for 6. And then the turn after we hit them for 9. And then turn after they die. Okay, so they're casting the Rite of Flame. Not a big fan of that. That might just be because they want it in their graveyard rather than exiled. But they have added some other mana to their pool. Alright. Okay, the Burning Wish is pretty good here. So they got 3 mana from that. 4, 5, 6, 3. Yeah, so they can cast an Echo Vions here. And we lose our hand. Alright, they're on the Flamestoker build, sure. At least we get a whole new hand, right? We can get 1, 2, 3, 4. We can't put the... We don't have a green creature to sack for the natural order, so we can't get Collector Ouphe if we get another turn. That's quite a big if. Our opponent just drew 14 cards effectively, because every card they draw, if it's no good, they get 2 fresh ones. Again, this is a matchup where if you want to improve it, you can add Mindbreak Traps. So much like the Marit Lage matchup, there's things you can do to play around it. Like, I'm not sure how good those are. We could also be running Ley Lines as a sideboard card. Obviously, that becomes very bad if you draw it later on. You can pitch it to a Fable the Mirror Breaker, I guess. You can even play Chalice for 0 here. That's a pretty reasonable card that you could run in the sideboard if you wanted. Alright, so they got a load of mana, they got a load of cards. The chances of them winning this game are about 90-something% right now. They got these 2 Burning Wishes. Yeah, so they can just Burning Wish, crack the Lion's Eye Diamond for triple black, and then Tender with us. So we don't need to see any more. The only thing is they might play around us having a Mindbreak Trap. Although if it gets to a point where they can't do that, then they'll just... Oh, that's a lot of Burning Wishes. I don't know if they're going to have anything like a Thoughtseize in their sideboard. I'm not really sure what they could have to play around a Mindbreak Trap. So they might just go into it. They might just cast 2 Burning Wishes here, so that they can get the Grape Shot as well as the Tendrils. That seems like a pretty reasonable line. Sure. We'll scoop it up. Yeah. So we lost to turn 2 combo deck. No, they went on turn 4. But they went on turn 2 and we had to stop them, and then we didn't have any resources left. We kept a bit of a sketchy hand because it interacted with them. Unfortunately, they weren't super all in on the Echo Vions. But sometimes they'll mulligan pretty much to just 2 cards, and then keeping a hand like that can win them. And I think because this matchup's so bad, it was worth keeping that line, hoping that they were going to mull deeper. We're on the play for the final round. We don't have a Mana Dork. We don't have a 3-drop to play on turn 2, so this feels like a mulligan. Again, we have the same problem with this hand that we had with the previous hand. We have 9 Mana Dorks in our deck. This does cast a turn 3 Cage of Chaos Adventurer, but I don't think a turn 3 Cage of Chaos Adventurer is worth playing. We're going to mulligan again. Okay, we'll keep this. So we need to keep these cards, make us a turn 2 guy. So we've got to put 2 cards back. So we probably put back the Wooded Foothills and the Ignoble Hierarch. Play the Forest out because it can't get wastelanded. Next turn, we venture into the Undercity, hopefully. Ancient Tomb. No blue decks today. Like proper blue decks. Interesting. Painter's Servant. Understood. We've definitely got some stuff for this in our sideboard, that's for sure. I think this gets us a mountain. And we pass. Our opponent can kill us on this turn, potentially. But we have 2 Progenitors that will shuffle in. So we should be alright against this matchup. Another Painted Servant, sure, be my guest. This one might name blue this time. Yeah. So this is going to turn on their Pyroblasts. They're going to Pyroblast our guy. Sure. And then they're going to get the Undercity. And our Mulligan is probably coming back to bite us a little bit here. I think our sideboard gets better than theirs at least, which is something. Template on this is completely messed up right now. Alright, they just had answers to every single one of our permanents. Interesting. Okay, what do we got here? We've got a Birds of Paradise. We got a Wooded Foothills. And then we pass the turn. Okay, they're scrying 2. I think even though we have the Progenitors in our deck, if they do mill us out, I think we still lose the game. Because we get 2 draw steps that are only Progenitors and we have nothing going on. So not so great. If we had like an initiative guy beating away, then sure. Right, we will just concede to that. We don't need to play this game any longer. Alright, sideboard wise there, we get a lot of stuff here. We get Meltdowns. These are very good. We get Collector Ouphe. These are especially good. We get Fury, which blows out all their little guys, which is very good. I don't think we want to be trying to broaden Pyroblast. Endurance is pretty good because it gets rid of their graveyard and can buy us some more time. So these things we want. Do we want these other things? What we're going to have to find some space for these, right? I think Bloodboil Sorcerer is definitely one of the we don't want to get rid of Progenitors, which means we're probably keeping the natural orders in. They also find us Collector Ouphe. These Bloodboil Sorcerers just don't feel great. Like, a Hill Giant is pretty bad. I think Feather Breaker is very strong here. I think Minsc and Boo is an interesting one. Like, we need our 1-drops to accelerate us out, if that's what we're planning to do. This is a green-red card, is the thing, though. And we're trying to get our Furies being pitchable. Maybe it's Fables. Fables are so good at fixing our draws, though. Let's get rid of a Fable and 1 Minsc and Boo and 1 Undermountain Lad. Alright, we keep both Progenitors in because each one will shuffle in. Okay, this is a turn 2 Progenitus. I think we can keep this one. We don't have to worry about them wastelanding us. We might have to worry about Blood Moon, though. So that's a question whether or not we play this out as a forest or not. I think we probably just do it as a forest. Like, all our hands green, right? Apart from this guy. There's our little man. So they might have a Lightning Bolt for this. But if they don't, we'll just stick Progenitus in play and say, is this good enough? Goblin Welder, sure. And the next turn we can Fury away whatever they do. And the one turn that the other Progenitors in our deck can buy us if they try and mill us out is something that we can happily get around. Now, they may have an Ensnaring Bridge in their deck, but we do have Meltdowns. We don't have any red mana, though. But we're going to pitch Fury to Fury. So if we draw a land, we can cast an Undermountain Adventurer. If we don't, then we might draw a thing we can do something with. Alright, so we have 2 things we can blow up here. This is going to name blue. Yeah. So they're holding open ability to Pyroblast our Fury. They could hit our lands if they wanted to as well. I think we just cast it straight away, pitching this. Getting Pyroblasted. It's quite a telegraph Pyroblast here. Yeah, but we have another Fury, so if we can draw another red card, we can get there. Also, if they mill us, we just swing back with the Progenitors and kill them next turn anyway. Because we have a Progenitors in our deck, so we don't get milled out. Not yet. It's not like Emerald Call where it shuffles your whole deck in. That's really hard for them to beat. Alright. Turn 2 Progenitors. Good. Who'd have thought? So, they did keep in the Pyroblast. I don't think you want to be bringing Pyroblast back when they have Painter. You want them to not have Painter. Honestly, I think our deck is really well set up for this matchup. I think we're just going to submit. Like, we've got Meltdowns, we've got Collector Ouphe, we've got Furies to sweep their stuff. We've got a really fast clock. This all seems like where I want to be. Hopefully we play out the Hierarch and they kill the Hierarch and then we play out the Collector Ouphe and it sticks for a little bit. So this is turn 1 Hierarch, turn 2 Ouphe, turn 3 Caves of Chaos Adventurer. That's what our hand does. We certainly have draws that will change how we play the game, but I like our spot. Will they bolt the bird, even though it's a goblin? Our opponent's mulligan to 6 cards. We will keep. Our opponent's mulligan to 5 cards. Alright, we got Ancient Tomb into Painted Servant. Alright, is this going to name blue? I suspect it does, yep. I think we're still fine getting a forest here. We get a little bit blown out by a Fury here. The next turn we play Hierarch and Ouphe. The next turn, after that, we can attack with the Ouphe. Alright, we're not going to block this Painted Servant. Okay. Put this out. If we play out this Ouphe, we really open ourselves up to a Fury. I think we don't want to do that. I think we just attack with this guy. I feel a Fury must have been something they would have kept in their hand. Yeah, there you go. So we're rewarded for playing around it. Our reward is we don't lose a Ignoble Hierarch. It's not a great reward. Right, so they have a Pyroblast available to them soon. Fable and Mirrorbreaker, sure. We can take the one from this. That doesn't really matter to us. An Ancient Tomb. That's a very good draw for us. So this is 3 damage, which is not enough to take out a Minsc and Boo. So I think we just jam this guy, because this can also be a removal spell for Painter in a couple of turns if we need it to be. Now they've got an Ancient Tomb, so their life total is very much under threat. We can deal 9 damage next turn if our Minsc and Boo has enough loyalty, because we can play the Chaos Adventurer minus the Minsc and Boo and fling it at them, as well as having the 4 damage from the Boo. Actually, we can do one more than that because of the Ignoble Hierarch, right? So we can attack for 5 and then fling for 5. So we can do 10 damage. And we have 2 draw steps after we get Grindstoned. So I think we're still in a pretty good position. Obviously, we can just gas up our hamster and play our Chaos Adventurer, or we can throw our hamster at the Painter's Servant. If they've got mana open, it can expose us to a removal spell. We kind of don't want to draw too many cards in case we draw all our Progenituses, and our opponent's plan is to mill us out. If we draw enough cards, then we can discard at end of turn and just put the Progenitus back in our deck that way. Alright, so our opponent's on 11. We have 10 damage next turn. So if they tap this Ancient Tomb, we might be able to kill them. But we won't know if that's the correct play or not, necessarily, because we don't know how they're going to block. We might be able to force them into a block, because they're probably attacking with the Goblin Shaman here, because they're going to want the treasure. Which means the Painted Servant might be back on blocks. So if we attack, if they block with the Painted Servant, then they don't have a Painted Servant in play. If they don't block with a Painted Servant, then... Alright, these both coming in at Minsc. Sure. Okay, so our Minsc is going to go down to 1. Oh, one of them came at us. Interesting. Okay, so they had a Lightning Bolt to finish it off. Sure. Let's make a big lad. They can Pyroblast this. We're about to turn off their Ancient... Well, not necessarily turn off. We're going to make their Ancient Tomb a lot awkward. If the last card in their hand is Pyroblast, they can get this, but we can deploy it the following turn. Sure, they had the Pyroblast. Let's cast this. Attack for 5. So our opponent is hellbent here. They do get their flipped guy, but that's going to be difficult for them to do much with. Okay, so draw a land. They're probably just... Okay, they're attacking with all their things. Interesting. If we draw an Ignoble Hierarch, they have to block with their Reflection of Kiki-Jiki. Endurance. That's an interesting one. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. So I have enough mana to do it all. So I think step 1 is attack with the Boo. They can go to 1, but it shuts off their Ancient Tomb. So I have 1, 2, 3, 4 mana. They can copy one of these guys, but that's not great for them. They can't evoke a Fury because they don't have 2 cards when it gets their turn. I think we're doing all right here. Right, taking it, going to 1. Let's make a guy. I'm going to get another land. We've already played our land for the turn, so we pass the turn. They can't mill us out because we have 2 Progenitors left in our deck. We have 9 power of trample damage and they're on 1 life. We have an emergency endurance if we need it for something as well. They can't use this land. Alright. They showed themselves the door. Alright, so we got a 3-2 with the deck. The 2 decks we lost to were decks that I immediately said were going to be bad matchups as soon as we faced them. So, don't feel so bad about that. And we did take a game off of one of them as well. So there is that. Alright, let's have a chat about the deck. So this was the first draft. Very much a first draft. And it felt very strong. I think the initiative plan really goes over the top of some decks. You know, like the decks that aren't necessarily committing to the board, they really struggle to deal with the initiative, right? Because they're not able to get it back. And then you end up just gaining all the advantage off of that and you win, which is why control decks kind of disappeared when the initiative came out. The natural order plan is very good against stuff that wants to gum up the board. So the stuff where ordinarily your initiative stuff is going to be bad, sticking Progenitus in play is like, oh, I can't do this. We don't have our little chump blockers for this. You're just going to get clocked in 2 turns. And this plan outraces the initiative decks, which is pretty nice. And I think places where we might be able to mess around with some slots here would probably be this sort of stuff. Like there's quite a lot of stuff here that could be tweaked. I think this core is very strong. And I think you want this. The mana base could maybe do with another land. So like another fetch land, I think. We maybe want 21 lands. I think that might be one of the things to look at here, but you could easily pull a card from here to do that. We boarded out Bloodboil Sorcerer a lot. It's kind of in there just because it's an initiative guy, but Minsc and Boo is better than playing Bloodboil Sorcerer, right? Bloodboil Sorcerer isn't as powerful as Minsc and Boo. So I think maybe this is something where we can look to trim stuff. I liked having the Fable and the initiative stuff going on. Sorry, just rejiggered the deck a little bit there. So yeah, I think this slot is also fine. Now, Endurance can sometimes win games, as we saw against the Ouphe deck, and it was pretty good against the Nigh Depths deck as well. But it can also, well, it wasn't Nigh, was it? It was like Rug. I guess it was Rug Depths. But we have these which have got double green pip on, which means that we can't cast it off of 2 lands like we can with the Fable and Mirror Breaker. So that's a little bit of tension going on there. You could cut the Bloodboil Sorcerer and add some, like, you can add a main deck Collector Ouphe, for example, and you can have a few Green Sun stuff. Maybe add some more Green Suns, and you could maybe trim down slightly on the birds by having the Green Suns. But the only issue is Dryad Arbor. If you accelerate out with a Dryad Arbor on turn 1, if you were doing Forest into Arbor, you can only cast the Undermountain Adventurer. You can cast the Natural Order as well, I guess, but you can't cast the Caves of Chaos Adventurer or the Minsc and Boo. You need to have a Taiga as the first one, which isn't necessarily that difficult to have. It does expose you to, like, Wasteland, Lightning Bolt, and then you've got nothing. But I think that is something that you could think about, and that's definitely a way that you could take this deck by having more Green Sun Zenith as options. But then again, if you draw the Dryad Arbor, the Green Sun Zenith becomes very blank in terms of, like, accelerating you out that way, because it's 2 mana to get a 1-drop then instead of just the 1 mana dork. So you could play around with some various aspects on this, but this seems really solid to me. I think the mistake people are making with the initiative now is thinking that you're trying to make a turn 1 initiative creature and that's good enough. Now, the turn 1 initiative creatures you're making kind of don't exist because you don't have 3-drops. Making a 4-drop on turn 1 is a lot more difficult, so you're going to have a lot clunkier hands trying to find that sort of thing. And if you don't have it, what are you doing? Whereas with this list, we have permanent mana sources. So we have these guys. They come into play. We don't sort of like blow our load. Oh no, it didn't get there. We don't have any mana anymore or anything. We just have these permanent mana sources. Say, like, oh, you tried this. It didn't work. Let's try a different thing. Let's try a different thing. Okay, now we've won the game. So I think that is quite a potent mix here. And I don't think, looking at a lot of decks I'm seeing in the ladder at the moment, or whatever you want to call it on leagues, not convinced Chalice of the Void is that good right now. I think it's very good against the combo decks when you know to put it on 0, but that's like a sideboard card. I don't think it's, like, always people are trying to play like Atraxa and silly things like that, which obviously we can go through a little bit with Progenitus. So I don't really think this is the Chalice plan from like a lot of the decks at the moment, these green-red initiative decks, they seem to be running Trinisphere, which also feels kind of bad because your mana is really inconsistent in the other red-green build because they don't have this. They've got Lotus Petals, Simian Spirit Guide, Elvish Spirit Guide. So they play their Trinisphere, but then they don't have any mana to do anything with it. I can't remember when it was. I recorded a video the other day where I just beat the red-green initiative deck very easily because they were locked under their own Trinisphere. I don't think that build is where you want to be. This build feels way better because we also have, instead of being all in on this plan, which isn't always good enough, we have this other plan which is incredible and is, I think this plan is better than the initiative because Progenitus is an absolute lad. But I think you could definitely play around with what we've got here and it feels very strong. We lost to a deck that made a Marit Lage token super early that we couldn't beat, and we lost to a deck that kills us on basically turn 2. Whatever composition of red-green you're playing, you're going to struggle against that. Like, Chalice is going to help you a little bit against the Storm deck, but game 1, you're not going to know that you need Chalice on 0, and they're just going to get you. And obviously, Chalice on 0 in game 2 and 3 really hurts your own mana development as well. Whereas we could play a Chalice for 0 in our sideboard if we wanted to improve that matchup. We could play Run of Fowls if we wanted to improve the Marit Lage matchup. We have a lot of options that we can do here that would improve our sideboard. So this was the first draft, and we already found some holes where we can improve things. So I'm pretty happy with this one, and I hope you enjoyed it. It was another little brew from me. Now, you know, it's kind of taking something that exists a little bit, but we have really changed things up a lot. We've got a different land count. We've got a different creature base. We've got a whole different plan added in there. So I would say this is very much a brew. And I think it is, I would say this obviously, but I think it is better than the Sim and Spirit Guide pitch build. I think Natural Order is just too good. If you wanted to, you could play Atraxas in here, and you could maybe tinker around with having some other types of permanents in here. Because we've got lands, creatures, enchantment, sorcery, planeswalker. But if you wanted, there might be some other things you might want in here. Some sort of instance or something like that. Like Pyrokinesis, maybe. Maybe Pyrokinesis is better than Fury. I'm not convinced that's the case, personally, because this beats down, and we want to beat down with this deck. But that's another option you can think about. Alright, I think we've done enough talking about this deck. I hope you enjoyed it. Let me know in the comments. Drop me a like and subscribe. Share my content to Reddit, because I don't really go on Reddit, so that helps me out a lot, actually, if you can post my stuff. So please do that. And, yeah, thank you very much for watching. Goodbye.